So who planned this? Who planned this? Hamas alone, or did it have help? Whose dirty fingerprints are all over this? Well, according to the Wall Street Journal, quote, Iranian security officials helped plan Hamas's surprise attack on Israel and gave the green light for the assault at a meeting in Beirut, Lebanon on Monday. This according to senior members of Hamas and Hezbollah. The Journal also reporting that the strike was, quote, aimed at disrupting the accelerating U.S. brokered talks to normalize relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel that Iran saw as threatening. Yesterday, Secretary of State Antony Blinken downplayed Iran's involvement.
In this specific instance, we have not yet seen evidence that Iran directed or was behind this particular attack, but there's certainly a long relationship.
However, the Secretary did acknowledge this.
It wouldn't be a surprise that part of the motivation may have been to disrupt efforts to bring Saudi Arabia and Israel together, along with other countries that may be interested in normalizing relations with Israel.
Former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, former National Security Advisor John Bolton joins me. Good evening, sir. And, you know, I know the big question is whether Iran is involved in this or not, and also the question of whether the security, that there was a huge intelligence failure, which I'm sure we can all agree on. But explain this to me. You were on the National Security Council. In 1962, that's 61 years ago, we knew when missiles were put in Cuba with 1962 technology, with that U-2 plane, spy plane overhead. How is it that not everyone saw rockets being moved into Gaza, saw them moving rockets around? They've been firing rockets forever, but how could they not see what was going on leading up to this?
Well, I think they did know that rockets were being shipped in by sea in particular, some through the Sinai Peninsula, thousands of them. But once they get into Gaza, what happens is they're put in homes, in office buildings, in schools, and mosques. It's the most cynical behavior you can imagine by Hamas. Same thing is true in Lebanon, where the number of rockets estimated in Hezbollah's centers are in the tens of thousands. So it's very dangerous. The intelligence failure here that's most disturbing, though, is that apparently neither Israeli intelligence nor American intelligence picked up this attack. So when Secretary of State Blinken says there's no evidence of direct involvement, come on, look at reality. This could not have happened without not just the supply of these weapons by Iran, but direction and control.
Okay, I'm going to put up on the screen 1962 aerial photograph of that U-2 spy plane. This is 1962 technology, and in Cuba we could see it. So I cannot believe that we couldn't track rockets coming in droves and dozens. 5,000 rockets have been fired from Gaza into Israel in the last 2.5 days. And don't tell me we didn't see them being moved from Iran to the sea to Gaza, if that's indeed the route that they took. So I mean, if the place is getting flooded with rockets and they're only firing 1 or 2 off every 3 months, you know that there's a buildup. I mean, of course you do.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. But it's been happening for a long time, and I think this is something that certainly this administration and prior administrations should take the blame for, that they just wouldn't put enough pressure on Iran. So when Prime Minister Netanyahu says that he's going to win the battle against Hamas, I certainly hope that he includes winning the battle against Iran. You know, as Secretary of State Al Haig used to say, go to the source. This was an Iranian attack on Israel using Hamas as a surrogate. The real question now is whether the next phase of Iran's attack is going to come using their surrogates, Hezbollah from Lebanon.
Well, Hezbollah is a Shiite Muslim, which is what Iran is. And the curious thing to me is that Saudi Arabia is Sunni, and so is pretty much predominantly the Muslims, the Palestinians in Gaza. So why didn't they use Hezbollah for this, since those are their greater pals? Why they don't even like the Sunni Muslims?
Yeah, they all hate Israel. It's you know, as the saying goes, everybody against the outsider. And frankly, in recent years, Iran has become the paymaster for Hamas. They've become the armorer and trainer. They've moved a lot of Hamas top officials into Lebanon, into Turkey. for greater safety. This is all part of what Qasem Soleimani, the now happily deceased former commander of Iran's Quds Force, called the Ring of Fire that he was trying to build around Israel. And so what happens with Hezbollah next could be extremely important. Not because they're somehow acting coincidentally. I think this all traces back to Iran and the administration's unwillingness to show a spine and point the finger of blame at Iran is very disturbing.
But it's one thing to point the finger, and I've heard over and over, everyone says we stand with Israel, but I don't know what it means to stand with Israel. Of course, Americans stand with anyone who's being attacked. And of course, Israel was one of our oldest allies, and we want to protect Israel. But how do we stand with them? And is Iran trying to draw the United States into a bigger battle in the Middle East? I mean, it's like this doesn't have necessarily a very good ending. It's already been pretty awful.
Well, the attack is already underway. It has been for a long time. That's what Iran's nuclear weapons program is for. That's what its support for terrorism is for. Concretely, what the United States should do is something the Biden administration has started but needs to do a lot more of. It's the right thing to move the aircraft carrier Gerald Ford to the Eastern Mediterranean, but we need a lot more. We need to be sure that Israel understands, and its enemies, that we will provide additional air cover for Israel, that we will free up Israeli planes, if necessary, to attack targets throughout Syria, throughout Iran itself, and elsewhere that any supplies may be coming into Hezbollah and Hamas. We need to get our intelligence agencies actively coordinating to find out what they did wrong by missing this, and to make sure that in missing this, we haven't missed something else as well. There are a huge range of things we should do. We should send Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin to Jerusalem immediately to confer with the Israelis to find out what they need and make sure they get it. And we should be taking other steps, specifically in Syria and Iran, to help out people there who might be able to do something about the regimes in place. Look, when it looks like direction is coming from Tehran for its nuclear weapons program to escape, any retaliation here would be a big mistake. Ultimately, the real goal has got to be to replace the Ayatollahs. That's the only way you're ultimately going to get to peace and security in the Middle East. And I hope Bibi Netanyahu, who knows that better than anybody else, is thinking about how to accomplish it.
Ambassador John Bolton, thank you, sir.